I'd like to call to order the special study session for May 16, 2023. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Aurelio.
Here.
Brian Blazak.
Present.
Wayne Pondinas.
Present.
Jerry Sweats is absent. Michael Schilling.
Here.
Joe Wizawati.
Present.
Okay, moving along, item A, building and planning software. Bill?
Okay, so tonight we have the folks who are going to answer any questions you guys might have regarding the building and planning implementation software that we were had meetings about. We met with several different vendors. We met with these individuals' references. We had lots and lots of calls. So without further ado, I'm going to let them kind of go through what we're going to be looking at and take a little bit of time. So if you guys have any questions, you guys can bring those up at this time.
Denise, would you like me to introduce myself first?
Sure. So yeah, I'll go ahead. Go ahead and do it. So I'm Denise Pratt. I am the account executive here with St. John. This is Scott Bishop. He's our director of public admin. And so we're here today to help you understand what we're proposing. So right now, I'm guessing it's in front of you. So we have the community development piece and also the work orders enterprise asset management piece. And what we were able to do was put a package deal with a discount together for you all. Scott, I don't know if you want to go through the discounts. Do you all want us to go through the numbers? I'm not sure what kind of details you all want.
Do you have those, Joe?
On which one?
What she's talking about here?
What specifically were you talking about? I'm sorry.
The first one. So the community development, EAM. So I don't know if you want to go through the quotes or if you have questions about the software or whatever you have questions on. We're here to help.
Okay, so they don't have a copy of the individual stuff that was in the packet because it was kind of more of a working kind of thing, so that we get a better understanding of the actual software. So I think we want to talk about basically what the benefits this is going to be to our building and planning department. So that way we can move forward on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect. Scott, do you want to take a stab first?
Sure, absolutely. So just a little bit of my background. I've been selling to state and local government for 14 years. Denise has been selling specifically with Central Square for a little while longer than that. And before that, I was a law enforcement officer for 6 years in the metro Atlanta area, a firefighter for 5 years in Athens, Georgia. Don't hold that against me if you're a big college football fan. Chances are we won't get another one of those for a while. That being said, when it comes to our community development software, one of the biggest benefits that I think our software provides to any agency, other than, of course, the ability to go more green and go paperless, is a return of investment of your time, your ability to do more and more in the field without having to go back to the office and print out papers and work out plans that way. Joe, do I have the ability to share my screen?
You should.
Okay, excellent. I'm going to try this. You guys let me know if you see it. Everybody able to see that?
Yes. Yes.
Terrific. Oh. So when it comes to our community development software, it's, I think, one of the biggest things, not for just for agencies where you are now, but one of the biggest things to consider for where you go in the future, because this is truly going to allow you to be proactive in planning the growth of the city of St. John or the town of St. John. It all works through GIS, and I know you've kind of seen this, but this is a broad brush. It all works through GIS. You got your land management, your planning and land use, your permitting, electronic permitting, by the way, which can also work, and I believe that we have included the Bluebeam API for electronic plan review. So the ability to, all within the system, go through the entire permitting process, all the way from when your contractors and your homeowners submit it for approval, to the marking up of the blueprints, to it being approved, to the town getting paid for the permitting and all that. All that's more streamlined. Code compliance to help you make sure that all the codes are being enforced, and also the benefits that come with enforcing those codes. Your business licensing, as more and more businesses continue to do business within the town of St. John. You have a field mobile app for those mobile inspections. I think that's the coolest thing, because you can do your inspections all from an iPad, an iPhone, or from any web-connected device, including taking pictures and what have you. All that uploads to the system, and it works both if you have the internet or if you don't. And our web portal, so that people don't have to try and schedule and come into the office and then hand you paper and you're having to process it and enter in the system yourself. They can do it all through the web portal. I think that when it comes to our community development solution, not only will you see benefits now, immediately, but you're going to see it for many years to come, and it'll continue to grow with you. Now with that, I'll quit my spill and see if they have any questions, or Denise, if you want to add anything.
That's perfect. So it's going from, using paper to, pulling files out, to everything online, everything at your fingertips. The reporting capabilities are amazing. So everything you put into the system, you can easily pull out and have reports ready for you, for these council meetings if you're looking for certain numbers. So again, if there's any questions, we would love to answer.
So I know that, what do we currently use right now, Jason, in terms of our solution?
The existing building and planning software is an Access database that was written by a consultant back in 1995. Yes, it is old.
Hey, Windows 95 was awesome, right, Jason? So,
I will agree.
Don't knock it.
95 was a good year. But
it's not wine, Jason.
True.
You and Sergio have been working on this?
Oh yes,
You guys are gonna...
Sergio, most of the building and planning department has looked at 3 packages, and this is the one that they liked the best.
They all agreed that it was the best one of the 3 they looked at.
Surprisingly, it was unanimous.
Yeah, it was unanimous.
So what's the total cost on this, Scott and Denise? What can you give us the total cost? What the implementation process would be? How long that process would take from data conversion to, all of that? If you just kind of walk us through that, if you would.
Absolutely. Scott, do you don't have that spreadsheet, do you, that I can pull up? Or I don't know if we should show that or not. Yep. You're awesome. All right, Scott, put this together for us. Scott, I don't know if you want to walk through it because you know it the best.
Sure. I don't mind walking through it. So we know that you were looking at both community development and EAM, and we wanted to because of the fact that we know that, this software is going to be beneficial to the town, we also want to offer you the benefit of being able to bundle these together. Now, what that means to me is that you don't pay the same as if you bought your hamburger, your milkshake, and your French fries all separately. It means that you pay a lesser price. So we requested, and we had to attend internal meetings and what have you, in order to say, look, St. John is going to trust us with not just 1, but 2 of our products. And this is the beginning of a relationship. So we want to reward that. So I prepared this chart individually, and this is based off the information that you provided to Denise. ComDev would normally be set $49,700 per year. This includes your Bluebeam API, so I can connect to the Bluebeam, GIS Advanced, Laserfiche API, and eTrackIt for credit cards. So that's all wrapped up in those numbers for ComDev. The services for installing ComDev would be $174,385. I'm sorry?
No, someone was coughing.
Oh, no problem. And here, of course, is your ComDev total for 224,085. Now for EAM, I forget what the user count was for EAM, but it's the one
I
that you
believe it was
provided
20.
to Denise. 20. So
25.
32,000 annually for EAM, 103,210 services wise for a total of 135,210. And basically, if you bought each of these individually, you can see what the running total would be on the right side here. What we did, though, is we went up the chain a little bit, had some conversations with the CFO, talked to them about your situation and the benefits that the city would see. And if, by the way, if you prefer to be called town, my apologies. I'm just used to saying city.
We're a town.
Terrific. So the benefits that the town would see going forward and how much we value that trust. So we reduced the bundled pricing for the subs by $10,000. That's a $10,000, not just in year 1, but year 2, 3, and 4 savings to the town. On top of that, the services we reduced by $44,100 basically. And your total savings being $54,095 with that bundled price. I just threw a lot of numbers at you guys. So, any questions when it comes to all that?
This is from signature to ending. So this includes everything. This includes your conversion, your training, your technical resources that were going to help you build reports. This is everything included with the project. You asked for a timeline. It's about 6 to 9 months, again, depending on projects you have going on vacations, on what kind of plan and calendar you put together for this project.
So quick.
And again,
questions.
we work with that. We work with you on that as well.
Sure. So I have a question about what is totally included in this. So I see subs, services. I know you touched on that. What's included in the service part of that cost?
Everything: training, conversions, technical services. So we help you write reports. Scott, what else is there? There is project management. So we have a project manager given to you. There's a designated project manager that works with you, holds your hand throughout the whole process. That's included. So from start to finish. So we're not leaving you until you're done and live.
And one part I would like to add, because it was mentioned that you're in ComDev specifically, you're currently running on a, let's just say, well-used solution. One of the things we do is we sit down with you and we discuss best practices we've seen, because a lot's probably changed since you last implemented your current solution. We discuss those best practices, you tell us how you do business, and we come to a consensus on how you want it to flow. Because we don't want to force you to work to the software or the software where we would prefer to adjust the software working to the way you want to work going forward, if that makes sense. That's included in this price as well.
Okay, so this services part sounds like some of those services a lot of those are upfront services that are needed. So you need to move over or transform the information into the new software. So will that cost diminish in year 2, 3, 4? The service part we don't need part of that going forward, and the only long-term cost is the sub part. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Correct. The long-term cost will be your $71,700.
That'll be your
Correct.
annual-
That's your annual
cost.
cost. Correct.
71,700.
The 235 is your initial startup cost and
Perfect.
conversion.
Yes.
And then that is, you said for how many years will that rate be fixed?
5.
Or is there a
think-
fixed increase
do
every
we have-
year? How does that work?
We agreed to either the 4 or 5. Jason, do you remember? Was it 5, Scott?
5. Yeah, I want to say it was 5.
5. Yes.
It was 5.
5
Thank you, Jason.
years?
5 years.
Yes.
5
Correct.
years.
You're on hold for $71,700 for 5 years. Correct.
And then is there a typical increase after that 5 years where you can lock in no more than 3% or 5% or whatever? Is there some type
It's
of?
with the standard, the standard, what everybody raises it, either 3%, 5%. It's the standard raise.
And
I
increase.
believe this.
And you'd be
I
okay
believe
putting
the-
that within the contract as well, the initial contract? What the
Yep.
range
Absolutely,
would be
yes.
after that? Okay, great.
Sure,
That will
absolutely.
absolutely be in the contract,
Okay,
for
thank you.
sure.
Yeah, and I did have
course.
some questions with respect to that contract in terms of some of the way that things would have to get paid out. And I think we addressed some of those, but I know our legal department and our SBOA, which is our State Board of Accounts, would take issue with some of that. So we want to make sure that, we're in conformity with that.
Absolutely. We'll work with you on what you need to adjust.
Yeah, well, who's working this contract? Is it Jose or is it Ryan, Denise?
Jose.
Okay. Jose, and one of the things that is the reason why I'm with Central Square is because all we do business with the state and local governments. So you're going to deal with an attorney that understands the unique needs of the procurement cycle of a state and local government. And that includes what your legal team, what your legal team's wanting change-wise, and what we can do to assist you with making this easy. Any other questions?
Anybody else have anything?
Any questions pertaining to the EAM? I know we kind of went over the ComDev, but I want to make sure everybody in the room knows the valuable tools that you're looking to bring to St. John.
I have nothing.
We're good.
Yeah, just so the council knows, so this would require the allocation of the ARPA funds. This is what was discussed as part of the ARPA allocation when we discussed that. So if that's what the council wants to do is move forward on that, we can have that ready for the next council meeting and ready to go for that.
How much was included of the monies, ARPA?
Was it 3 or 350?
I think I asked for about 350
Yeah.
plus an additional 50-ish for the hardware that's going to be needed, the tablets, the cellular stuff. Yes.
In order to
Fully
implement,
utilize.
right.
Yes.
One clarification, the three, right here, you're showing 359,295 total.
Total 305.
Yes, sir.
In other words, the bundled price is 305,000.
Right,
That's correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
and that's your first year, and then your
Your subsequent years
startup cost on it.
come with
71
71 and 230.
71,700. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just the 71 as year to year reoccurring.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
And Denise, correct me if I'm wrong, are both of these cloud-based?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so the reason why I mentioned that to the room is because this includes us hosting this for you and making sure that you're always on the latest, greatest version. If there's any issues, it's Central Square responsibility. You don't have to worry about your servers being outdated or anything like that. We are truly giving you access to the solution while we maintain it for you. So that's included in that $71,700 a year.
You keep using 4 as the future time frame. Does that mean it's really 5 years, but the first year you're counting, so you're carrying it after 4 more years?
Well, that's a good question.
So, forgive me if I'm misunderstanding you, but I want to make sure I'm clear. So, in year 1, the cost to the town is that $305,200. Year 2, 3, 4, and 5, the cost to the town is $71,700 each year.
Okay, you just mentioned 5, whereas previously you were just saying up through year 4. And I want
Yeah,
to make
but-
sure there was 5 included, and how somewhere along the line we lost the last year. I got it now.
It's back.
Yeah, my apologies. Sometimes
No,
when I
not a
think about
problem.
that 305, but we will also make sure that that's clear in the contract as well. You'll know what you're signing up for.
Is there any other costs that would be related to this in future years, upgrades, anything that we're not thinking that would be usually needed going forward that we're not seeing the cost here that they're likely needed in years 2, 3, the out years?
And Scott, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to go ahead and take this one.
Right.
So the way we did this, priced it out, no. So if we go over, it's on us. You do not have any extra cost. This is all on us. This is the price from start to finish until you're live.
And on top of it, and what Denise is referring to is basically we quoted this as fixed fee as opposed to, saying this is a roundabout number. This is the number. The only increased cost going forward would be if you wanted to expand off of this, increase your user count, for example. If the town grew to the point to where it needed more people to access ComDev or EAM, then you would quite simply reach out to us and ask for a couple more users. But past that, there's no additional cost, sir.
And what is typically an additional user? What's the cost of additional user?
Is it 1,200? I think it was on this one.
So for ComDev,
Or is it 700? And Jason, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe we padded this pretty, like not padded, but I believe you have enough users for you to grow into too, right, Jason? I mean, I think we have
20 figured into that.
correct. Yeah.
and we can get you that per user count. We just don't have
Yes.
it popped up in front of us right
Yeah.
now because of the bundled
Sounds
pricing. It
good.
would throw our
Sorry.
numbers off.
The only other cost that would be associated with this would be the monthly cellular fees and tablet expenditures.
Correct.
So if we need to add a printer to a inspector's vehicle for whatever reason, that would be on us. If we add an inspector, another tablet, things like that. Software-wise, we're locked in at these prices.
Correct.
If we can include the cost of the additional users on there, just in case we go over to 20, would be great.
Absolutely.
Just what it's spelled
Yep,
out.
we'll add that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No problem at all. Now, I assume what you want is you want to know list price on users even after our contract of 5 years, correct?
Yeah, if they had to add.
Okay, perfect. Just making sure that I understand correctly.
All right. Anything else?
That's it for me.
Excellent.
I'm good.
So we'll have just so you know, we'll have the ARPA resolution to authorize the expenditure, and then at the next council meeting, not this coming one, we'll have the contract to approve this then, at that point.
What's the estimated time of implementation once we go for the contract?
6 to 9 months.
How long?
6 to 9 months.
6 to 9 months.
9. Okay.
So if they started in the month of June, they would have it probably
Close
July.
to year
August.
end,
Yeah,
right.
So it'll be close to year end, probably
Yes, sir.
carrying over to the beginning of the first quarter.
And the reason for that range, sir, is because it's truly a partnership. We rely a lot on your personnel to learn the software with us and help us to set it up. Your feedback's more valuable than anything when it comes to this implementation time. So that's
Holidays,
why we give a
Christmas
range.
comes up. Yeah, Thanksgiving.
There's a lot of data conversion as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So in the date, since this is a yearly fee after that, the date that the clock would start is the day we're totally functional,
Go live.
100% functional.
Correct. Go live. Yes. 100% functional. Yes.
Good question.
Also, since it's fixed fee, we're not going to walk away until you sign off that it's set up and running.
That you're
the way
happy, right?
All right.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks.
Thank you, Denise.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for your time. Thank you so much for having us. Have a good night, guys. Are we
You're
you're okay
done.
with us signing off?
Yep, you're
Yes,
good.
night.
Okay.
Good night.
Awesome. Thank you
Excellent.
guys. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
And just so you know, even though they did mention the E-Track It credit card thing, that is not something that is actually going to be used. It's just part of the bundle. You know how like Comcast bundles your telephone service, internet, and cable TV, even though nobody uses the phone service, it comes with.
It's there.
Yeah, it's there. But again, it will not be turned on.
But it would be available at some point if,
Correct.
okay.
The existing workflow from building and planning to the clerk's office would remain intact.
So what's the benefits of this? Is it gonna make their jobs easier? Are they gonna be able to go out and be more productive?
Yes, John and the other inspectors will no longer have to return to the office to pick up paper inspection requests. We'll be able to do a little bit better on scheduling because we can now take a look at, who's signing up for the schedule and say, okay, a rough plumbing inspection generally takes 1 hour, a rough electrical takes 2 hours, a final inspection takes 6 hours. We can now put that into a calendar, and it will prevent people from saying, okay, I'm requesting an inspection in 30 minutes for this concrete, but he's in the middle of a final inspection. He can't be in two places at once. So it'll help, the residents and the contractors say, okay, he's already booked for the day. You're going to have to wait until tomorrow for your inspection. So we'll force a little more responsibility onto the developer and the contractor to, plan it accordingly.
Plus the organization of the day for the individuals involved will be better and better served.
And we can generally set it up so that it'll be route-based, so any inspections that are within, 1 mile of his current location will be allocated to that existing inspector, instead of having to go from the west side to the east side and then back to the west side for another inspection.
Okay.
So it'll save gas.
And especially save time.
Yes.
Not, no other questions at this point, but has Dave looked over everything?
We just started looking at the contract. That's why we're not approving the contract at the next meeting. We're just going to approve the allocation. We'll approve the contract in June after legal's looked at it. But I was going through it with them, and I've already started making them tweak a few things on it before
Okay.
it goes illegal.
Well, I'd like to Sergio here one day to give his spiel why he wants it.
I'd like that.
He can come you want him at the next council meeting?
Well, I want to know why he needs this and how's it going to better his department.
It's only for building and planning, right?
Correct.
So then I think we need to have the
No problem.
the accounting
Yeah.
look at it. Is there room for ARPA? Are we spending ARPA too freely? Let's see how that all works with ARPA too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was already discussed as part of the priorities in the ARPA fund. So, I mean, that was determined a while back when we did do that.
Well, I just have a few questions for him. It's a, it's a big chunk
Absolutely.
of money, and
Yeah.
I don't know what we're getting for it. All right. Moving along. Item B, fee waivers for the town project on 93rd, first group.
The building and planning has asked me to come here tonight and seek variance for the fence on the corner of 93rd and 41, as well as a waiver from the town ordinances for the 8-foot sidewalk along 93rd Avenue. The reason I'm here tonight, this evening, is to waive the fees that are involved with the building and planning. So I believe it's the waiver requires a $75 fee, and the variance requires a $1,500 fee, and that usually goes to the review of the plan set. And since the town paid for the engineering on this, in discussions, we felt with Sergio it was appropriate to waive those fees since the town has already paid for the engineering of the plan set.
Essentially, we'd be having first group review their plans and say, yeah, they look good. So, and paying them $1,500 to do so. So that's kind of redundant. So this is a town project. We've already engaged the engineer to do it. We're working on making the amendments to the subdivision control ordinance to waive all fees for the town projects for any variances that the town might need in the future. So that way those fees aren't charged to the town, which kind of makes sense.
They don't charge it, so.
Yeah, so those will be on, as Evan was saying, is we're going to have that on the agenda to waive those fees now, but know that the subdivision control ordinance, those are in motion to have those included in there to be waived going forward.
All right.
Any questions, anybody?
You want to give them a quick update on 93rd? while you're
Oh,
here?
so yeah,
Yeah,
where we're
that'd be
at, we got west side of the road half torn up for reconstruction. The 6-foot trench you see out there is for the water main. You should start seeing water main be delivered to site sometime this week, along with equipment, and they'll probably get started on the water main as of next week, probably about first thing Monday morning or so. I believe Gatlin's going to be in here at least on one side. There may be 2 crews going at the same time, so we may have work on both sides of the intersection. Pash and the prime contractors kind of wait for Gatlin to finish their work before they come in and start laying new curb lines and everything. The house is scheduled to be demoed the week of the holiday, so sometime between the 29th and the 2nd, maybe possibly after, maybe into that second week of June. But we have to wait for the state permit fee to get passed for demoing a house. Other than that, that's about where we're at right now. Driveways are torn up, residents have access to their homes, and we haven't been hearing too much out of anybody.
Yeah, I've got to say that Passion's been very good about giving daily updates as to what's going on, what they have planned. They've been really good about, conveying that information, and it's like to the macro. I mean, I've never gotten updates like that before.
No, yeah, I was very surprised. They're taking this very seriously as if it's one of their highway projects. We get by 3 o'clock every day that their engineers are already sending us what they're going to be doing for the next day.
Yeah.
We already know as we have inspectors on site and everything, but they're being very transparent and letting everybody know what's going on every single day.
I know that the police department was in communication with NDOT to get the light timing and stuff like that changed out, too.
So yesterday we met with NDOT out there. They, police had found some issues with the timing. 41 was getting backed up all the way down to 96 over the weekend. So we met NDOT out there. We got the signals changed, and it's clearing out much, much better now. The only traffic I've seen was right here at like 5:30 this evening. Traffic got down to the park at 93rd, but other than that, traffic is barely backing up past Kyleman now. So it's pretty good. And then, like I said, the 41 is fixed northbound and southbound. Traffic stacks, but the timing is long enough that it clears out, that even if somebody's sitting past Dairy Queen, they usually make it through the light. So we're not seeing that same problem anymore.
All right,
Good deal.
Thank you, Evan.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.
Item C is the additional school resource officer, Chief Flores.
So everyone got a copy of what you sent over in their packet.
Okay.
So they've got that in their chief.
All right, good evening, everybody. We're here tonight to discuss the possible partnership between the town and Crown Point Christian School for an additional resource officer. This kind of came to light, obviously, with all the school shootings that have been going on in the last several years, and in particular, the one in Nashville. Kind of struck home a little bit for me and the school as well, too, being it was a private school and a Christian school. And as the police chief, I felt kind of vulnerable with that school being out there and as big as it is. I mean, it's 900 students now, and they're growing. They're putting an addition out there as well. So, I mean, it's just as big as Clark Middle School, or will be once it's all said and done. So if I had it my way, I'd have an officer in every school in our town to protect the kids. Obviously, we can't do that. However, we can make steps to make that kind of happen. So, again, after the shooting that happened in Nashville, I felt that we need to do something as a town to protect the kids and the staff over there, being it's such a large school. So I reached out to these gentlemen here, which is John Terpstra is the board president for the school board, and David Tegrotenhouse, he's the head principal at the school there. So we had a meeting, kind of talked about the ideas, and in fact, when I met with them, they said they were going to reach out to us after that happened, because they've been kind of kicking around the idea as well, too. So after we met, we talked about it and just kind of got the ball rolling here. So basically, in a nutshell, it would work similar to the same way that we fund the SROs at Lake Central. So the time that the SRO at their school during the school year, they're picking up the cost of that officer. So the startup cost for the first year, they're willing to cover 75% of that as well, too, which is uniforms, equipment, the whole 9 yards, salary, benefits, similar, again, to how Lake Central does it with their SRO. So after we had our meeting, they discussed with their staff, their school board, their parents, and overwhelmingly, there was a lot of support from their people and their parents and the staff there. So they had a town hall meeting a week or two ago that I attended, kind of went over the idea of it. is very well received. They're very excited about moving forward with this with the town, if the town decides that they want to do this. So I did send the numbers to you on what the cost would be for year one to both the town and the school, and then moving forward, what the cost would be to both parties. So of course, if we were to move forward with this, obviously there's a contract involved, so their legal team and our legal team would have to work that out between the two parties to get that going. So again, I think this is extremely important with how things are going nowadays, doing everything we can to protect our people here in this town, the students and staff there at that school. And I'm going to turn it over to them because I know they wanted to say a couple words, and then if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. So turn it over to John.
Good evening, Council. John Ryan Terpstra, 10131 Fairbanks Court, Crown Point, Indiana, 46307. I don't know if you're supposed to do that still, but out of habit I do. Chief Flores did a great job of explaining what the public-private partnership would look like. He's absolutely right, hit the nail on the head that particularly the incident that happened at the Covenant School in Nashville really hit home for us because, that's very similar to what our school is. As a member of this community, we try to put first the safety of our children while they're within the four walls of that school. While we have taken certain measures to date, such as film over the glass doors in our school, the installation of multiple cameras, we have a singular entry point during the day for security purposes. We have a security protocol for when you check in at that front door to make sure that you give your license. There's a quick check of your record to make sure there's no criminal history. You get a badge, you walk around the school. But there's nothing like having that immediate response in the building. And there's a lot of different options that go along with making sure that there's that immediate response, but teachers are teachers, staff members are staff members, heads of school are heads of school, police officers serve and protect. So the experts in the field are akin to what Chief Flores is standing before you today, and having that in our school, we feel to be the best opportunity for us to ensure at least the best chance for the safety of our kids. Obviously, not every incident can be prevented, but there are certain measures that we can take to make sure that any fallout from an incident is minimized and that risk is minimized as well. So the reason that we're before you today is of great interest to us personally, but also to this community. It is a public-private partnership, which would include a cost to both sides and a contract, which is why the council needs to consider this as a partnership, and you would need to then develop a resolution and pass that and adopt that contract as a town contract. David de Grotenhuis is here. If you would like to say a few words, you can. I must warn you, he's long-winded, so maybe don't give him the mic. I don't know. But we're also here to answer any questions that you may have, whether it's about the school, about the size of the school, what else we have there, but also about the partnership with the St. John Police Department. So like Chief Flores says, we will have about 917, 920 students next year, which is a great blessing, but it's a real challenge as well. So, David.
Hi, David de Grotenhuis. I serve as the head of school at Crown Point Christian School. Very much like a superintendent at a public school system. It's just we're not a superintendent because I only have one building. I just want to begin by thanking Chief Flores. I was on spring break when the shooting in Nashville happened, and within 2 days of that event, I received an email from him. I also believe he emailed all of the school leaders in the area requesting the same conversation. And the Tuesday I got back from spring break, we were having this conversation about a school resource officer. Again, it was something we were already talking about, and I'm just thankful that he took it upon himself to reach out to us to engage us in this important conversation. One of the questions you may have is about the financing piece of this. We already have secured funding for year one. Literally before the town hall meeting, I had a donor step up and was willing to cover the cost of year one. Subsequent year costs, I worked with my admin team to go back to our budget. We keep a record. We have a working budget and then a 4-year plan budget. So we went and looked at our budget, and we were able to find about $56,000 in savings In our next 4 years of budgets, we were able to find some savings there. And then with a 0.5% increase in tuition, so our parents are going to pay about $45 extra a year to have a school resource per student, to have a school resource officer in the building, if this is something that you guys would be willing to engage with us. But we're really excited. We believe it's really important to have people at the tip of the arrow. Crown Point Christian School has an admissions director who serves our incoming families. We have an operations director who serves at the tip of the arrow of anything that's not educationally related. We have a director of learning who focuses in on curriculum and teacher development. And the time has now come, as Officer Flores said, for us to have someone at the tip of the arrow of school safety. And I am excited about this partnership, and we would be willing to answer any questions you might have.
I just want to say it's great to see a private-public partnership like this started, especially with respect to law enforcement and protecting the kids of the town. In just my opinion, $50,000 is not from the town's perspective, is not a lot to deal with in terms of budget. I think there's ways that we can make that happen, obviously. And I think this is a fantastic way to increase the resources for our police department, but also protect our kids. So I think it's a great idea. I think that it was great for the chief to be proactive on this and bring this to our attention. So I really appreciate that. I know you had the discussion with the safety board already, and they're fully supporting that. So I hope the town council can as well. This will be part of the budget process as well, too. So.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Now, is this something that you guys want to start, implement this year going? I know the school year is going to end here in a couple of weeks, but is this something that you guys are looking to start up in August? When do you guys go back to school? August?
Our desire is that we start up in August. We had the conversation about looking at off-duty officers, and we just believe that the best route for Crown Point Christian School is to not only have somebody who's protecting our kids, but who also has this direct access to the St. John Police Department. So our desire would be that, if possible, this partnership begin at the start of next school year.
And honestly, if you take into account the amount that we would actually need, it's probably significantly less that first year. I mean, there's fixed costs that have to be considered, but in terms of, covering the last
Well, I think this first
4 or 5
year
months
cost would be something that we would budget for next year. Is it the first overall?
For the full amount, yeah.
This year, we would have to come up with something to get us.
Yeah, because we would literally have to
through
create
the end of this year.
create a
Right.
new position. Because as I understand it, Chief, your plan is to take an existing officer and put them into this role and then hire a new officer. Is that correct?
To replace that officer that goes into school, correct.
But the new hire probably wouldn't come till the first of the year, right? Or would it happen?
We could probably do it pretty quick because the next person on the list is an officer from, trying to think where he's from now. He's a police officer somewhere, so we could get that process started pretty quick, and by the time we would get them hired and get them on the road, it would probably be a couple months. We can do it.
So
If we authorized it in
We
July.
could, yeah.
started, well, and then you could, even if you didn't, you can use an existing officer to fill these shoes until then.
Correct.
To get
Yeah.
an officer up and running.
So we already have an officer in mind, Sam Jacobs. He's the perfect fit for this because his kids go to school there. He knows the people, knows the families, knows the children there. And we thought that it was important for the officer to kind of know the culture of the school, and he's perfect for it. So if this happens, that's who's going in there. And Sam would be, he's excellent.
So I think basically our next steps would be to get the legalese drawn up in terms of the contract and agreement between the school and the town.
Sounds good. There's nothing more important than the safety of our kids. Times are changing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Who is your corporate counsel? Who's your town attorney?
David Westland.
Dave Westland, okay. If you'd like, I can reach out directly to Dave in my other life, I'm a lawyer, so I can reach out to Attorney Westland and get that ball rolling if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be fine, as long as I'm included on the email as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Will do. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
D, solar, power, school zone signs.
Hey, Chief, don't go nowhere. So we're talking about the solar, solar signs too. So, this is for Clark Middle School, correct?
Yes.
On 93rd. So
Correct.
I know, do you want to talk about our current situation and what we're wanting to do here?
Well, Daryl was
Daryl.
looking into, yeah, with our situation there, because our crossing guard there has almost got hit several times. Obviously, it's a busy street there, busy intersection at 93rd and Marquette. You know, we tried the signs in the middle of the street, they didn't last a day, and they were gone. They tried several years ago, those whirly birds that are above, those really didn't do a whole lot. So the next best thing, we were trying different things before we got to this point to try to keep costs at a minimum, but nothing seems to be working, and we're still having issues there. So after we looked into it and looked at the traffic there between myself, Officer Schaefer, and Bob Davis, we felt that this was something that would fit there. It potentially would be a better option for us. We also looked at, like, Pfeiffer on Klein Avenue in Cherville. They have the flashing lights during school zones. I mean, that would be nice, but obviously that's a big cost. So this would be the next cheapest thing, if you will, that we feel will give additional warning to that crossing there.
And
Would this be putting a crosswalk in there? Or
There's one there already.
is there one that lights up and,
So it'd be almost just like the one that we have right in front of the park on 93rd, where you push the button. When you press
that's
the
what this
button.
is here, right?
Yeah,
Is it an amber light or red light?
it's amber,
They're amber. They flash.
yeah.
Can it be red and that means they have to stop?
Well, it says it's state law. If you're in a crosswalk,
You've got to stop.
Yeah,
Okay.
yield to pedestrians, yeah.
Yeah, and we will have that after we get the CCMG project completed, we will have that marked way better than it is now.
Yeah.
So they will know they're in a school zone, and they will know that is a designated crosswalk.
Right.
So,
So again, just another safety thing for the kids, so it's definitely needed. It's with the amount of traffic that we see there.
They're the same signs that are on Garden Way too, right?
Yep, right on the
And
corner
by, and
there.
by the park on Parish.
Exactly.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, you're welcome, thank you.
so I would like to put that on the agenda for next week too, if we can.
Yeah, I
Okay,
don't see an issue with that.
awesome.
Item F, St. John Volunteer Fire Department annual request.
So the St. John Volunteers sent over their request for their annual donation for the $15,000. This is included in our budget annually, and they sent the letter over back in April too.
And usually we use the monies that come from the St. John Township, part of their agreement.
Yeah, so it's
What is it, the
the
15,000?
$15K, so,
15,000.
yeah. Would have that on the, as an RTP for the council meeting next week.
What are we purchasing?
Well, you gotta have an RTP for it. It's over the $4,000 threshold,
All right.
so.
Item G, lot and agreement for the Freedom Fest.
We forgot the Pazer study on E, if we could go back to that real quick.
Oh. I want to cut him out. No.
Yeah, I know, right?
Item E, Pazer study. This is for our
Just looked at
grant
that and said,
money.
well, wait a minute here.
Good
Time to
evening,
do it again? I
everybody.
thought we just did this.
It has to be done periodically,
Every 2 years?
and we're coming forward with a different way of doing it too. I want to explain a different
All
way
right.
of doing it. So what we're doing a Pazer analysis to the roadways, what does become eligible for local road and bridge matching grants, and most importantly, it's available by doing this to take advantage of community crossing grant, which is known as the CCMG grant, which you are recipient of $1 million for this year. So we're going to be doing over 130 miles of centerline road miles, and what we're doing, we're going to be collecting laser data We're going to have 3 cameras in the back and 1 camera in the front. On the 3 cameras in the back, we're looking directly down at the center line and the right and left side. And the 1 camera in the front will be taking a visual look of the entire street. So with this picture in the front, you'll be able to identify where your fire hydrants are, the condition of your stop sign, your traffic signals, everything. It's a great piece of data to have on it. We teamed up with a company called Applied Research Associates, which is known as ARA, and they'll be doing the driving of the road and providing the digital analysis of it. We then give you a complete database of your roads with a digital map, a GIS map, color-coded, so the residents could see where their street ranks in relation to the other streets in town. And there'll be a PCI, which stands for Pavement Condition Index, associated with every segment, and there'll be a rating from 0 to 10. And the cost for that work is $72,000.
They're doing every street in town?
Yes, sir.
And that has to get done, every 2 years then?
Every 2 to 3 years, Joe.
2, 3, okay. And I know we
That's to
do an
keep us
annual,
eligible for
we do an
Right.
annual update though.
Right.
For the LPA thing.
Right. So if we do it with the digital analysis using the lasers, we could update it based on a degradation curve of the roadways, so that every year we don't have to do it, but we can apply a degradation to it too. I think it's really the future to come, especially having that photo every 20 feet of what's in front of you. I think it's going to help you out in the long term determine whether certain pieces of equipment are there or signage is there, or the condition of the parkways or fire hydrants and all that kind of stuff.
We're not just doing a windshield survey.
No, sir, it's not. It's been done with lasers now.
Everything's going to lasers, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And it's very, very efficient, too. I think what you're going to like the best is the map. I think your residents appreciate the map, too, when they can see where their street ranks. And then with this data, we'll be able to put together long-term paving plans for you, too. Yeah. So right now,
Let us know where their street ranks.
What's that?
They let us know where their street ranks.
I understand. But when you can have a
why-
map to say that, hey, yours ranked 7, and we got a lot of 3s and 4s we got to take care of first. They may be able to temper it a bit. But this having this prima facie data is going to help out, I think.
So it takes a picture every 20 feet.
Every 20
So-
feet.
And so that will be, so every picture it's going to give you at least 20 feet of viewing from where you're at. So this should cover everything. You should be able to
Yeah.
get almost every inch of pavement in our town and be able to, so if there was some debate, you can go back, actually look at the pictures.
Right, so this is on a vehicle. The vehicle's moving down the road. It's taking 3 shots behind, right, left, and center of the pavement. It's measuring rutting, cracking, lengths of cracks, whether it's longitudinal cracks or transverse cracks. And then in front is taking a photo every 20 feet. It's a panoramic shot. So you're going to see from, a home on the right to the home on the left, just going down the road, just taking photos on it. And then when you get this data, this database is going to be queryable for you too. You go to any part of there and you can see in 2023, what was the condition here? And not only see the pavement condition, you see this panoramic shot in front of you.
Sure, that's good data.
I'll be sure to wave when it goes by.
Or follow it.
Yeah.
But then they'll start negotiating for, well, this one looks better than this one, so why don't you do mine first before you do that one?
I'm sure they will.
They'll figure out a way, trust
Yeah.
me.
All right.
Sounds
Any
great.
questions?
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, moving along, Lawton Agreement, Freedom Fest.
Yeah, so this is the same agreement we did last year with Mr. Lawton. So this is for the Freedom Fest, 4th of July Fest that's coming up. So this will be on the council agenda for approval at our next meeting.
Now, you had the Schnell agreement too, was that taken off?
We haven't finished that one yet, so.
No?
Yeah, I know we've had some contact with him, but I guess we're just missing, him, so we'll get it squared away.
All right.
All right.
College intern program?
Okay. So Sergio made a recommendation, and with respect to building and planning, he has one of his staff members that's going to be on leave for quite some time. So what we kind of thought about was having a college intern program start. for building and planning, and basically having this individual working on a specific project within building and planning that Sergio has identified. He put a copy of the memo in there, so this would be considered like a temporary or seasonal individual, not a permanent staff member, if you will. We would have to make some changes on the salary ordinance to amend that to include their stipend. Their stipend for the internship program would be $15 per hour, not to exceed 24 hours and 14 weeks. So that would be where they would be maxed off. He would not need any additional appropriation, as he's got the funds to cover this due to the leave of the individual. So it worked out well. If the council has no objection, we'd like to, have this for approval at our next meeting.
Okay. Any questions on that?
Nope.
All right, next amendment to the personnel policy, procedure manual.
Yeah, I'm going to ask that we put that off till the next study session, and we can have a discussion on that.
Deferred. All right, what do you have for miscellaneous?
I've got just a few items, and then we should be out of here. I'm going to start with the Safety Village. So the Safety Village, we have a interlocal agreement with the town of Cherville, town of Dyer, and St. John as well. So their annual allotment was for $34,900. That was their request for this year. And I would either like to have the town council approve this at our next meeting. We do have Bill Jarvis here tonight, and
good evening.
Yeah, so if the council has any questions, they'd be happy to, discuss
I know at
those.
the last council meeting, it was deferred pending outcome of an audit.
Right.
That they were doing.
So-
now, when I reached out, there was no audit being done, but now they have something going. or-
May I speak to
Yes,
that?
you can.
Okay. Good evening, council members. You've had a lot of discussion about children's safety tonight, so I guess I'm joining that bandwagon. Bottom line is, the audit is being decided by our board of directors, which is the town council president, police chief, and fire chief from the 3 towns. They have not decided on a group to do the audit, but it's ongoing. And what it is we're making sure how much, when it can be done, because the biggest problem you have at the beginning of the year is tax returns. So it delays any audits that can be performed. We're probably talking September, October to get a audit completed, and then it goes through steps. So the first step is preliminary. They see if there's any problems, then they push it to the next step and further on. I don't see that becoming complex, because at most we write about 20 checks a month. The dollars that come in are all by check, grants, donations, things like that, so that companies can actually write it off. So there's a lot larger expense to the Safety Village than what you have in front of you, but we try to make all that difference up with donations and grants. In fact, we had Enbridge Company doing a tour of the Safety Village, and they've been an ongoing contributor for years, going on about 14 years now. So NIPSCO being one of them. I should also introduce Barbara Tuesley, my assistant. So if you have any financial questions, we can also address those. But we've been teaching classes every day. We're full all this week. Crown Point Christian has come to us before, as well as other schools. And in light of what just happened with the accident in Chesterton, you could see the need for what we do, because we teach Operational Lifesaver. The problem is we're going to run out of funds here pretty quick if we don't move ahead. And if something needs to happen retroactive, so be it. The funds are all guided by the police chief from the town of Cherville, which is Chief Sormas. No check is signed by anybody else. So it's monitored and it's watched. But it's always good to do an audit Because when I go for a grant, one of the first things they ask me is, when was your last audit done? So I want it just as well as anybody. But it has to be agreement of the board, who they want to use, what the expenses are, and so that there's no conflict of interest. But that's not going to happen overnight. But we still have to operate.
Understood. You know, it's obviously a wonderful thing and very good for the kids. So, but, you know, obviously you and we have an obligation to guard the finances as well. Quick question, has Dyer paid their portion of their yearly?
We're on the council meeting for the next meeting. Everybody was up in the air about this audit. Cherville has given their check, but now the audit threw a wrench in the works, being that everybody thought it would happen immediately. That's not the case. I mean, so we're just in the process, and that's totally up to the board. And so your 3 members from your board, which is the town council president or an appointee, and the police chief and fire chief, are the ones that have to decide that. Not me.
What seems to be the holdup?
The holdup is, can I put it bluntly?
Put it any way you want.
All right, Brian. A quorum of the board members.
So it's the board members who are causing
Yeah, the
delay.
last one, exactly. We did a online email vote, and only about 4 people responded to that, which is kind of crazy, but I don't understand it. I just
So,
don't.
I guess, I'm lost on that. So
Okay.
the problem is a quorum for the board?
The last 2 meetings, they did not form a quorum, and it has to be 1 member from each town.
When was the last time you guys had a quorum at a meeting?
That was February.
February,
Correct.
so a few months ago.
January 25th.
January 25th. Do you expect to have one at the next meeting?
Yes, absolutely. I told them it's imperative we have to move forward with this, and as well for me to get grants. I mean, I was talking to Enbridge today about a grant, and they're fully behind it, and I told them what the delay is for me applying to that, and they said, no problem, just move forward. We'll get it approved.
There seems to be, one person who seems to have a problem with something which we don't know what the problem is. And I personally, I've been there July 20th, I've been there 3 years handling all of the finances. Please come and audit. I mean, I guarantee you that nobody's been stealing any money, and so I don't know what the problem is with people, but, if they want to go back further than that, I don't know that, but I can guarantee you that in the last 3 years, the money's come in, money's gone out, and everything has been totally accounted for. I have Excel spreadsheets for everything.
And it's also a misappropriation of funds, naturally, and so that's always monitored by a police chief. So you can't get much more security than that. And again, if you look at our total budget, we're talking $109,000. There's not a lot of money to steal to begin with. I mean, we're running bare bones to make this work. But we can't wait either. That's the problem. When you're running so thin, you have to have your funding. And I would have hoped that last year, the proposal to do an audit would have been put in place then, because that would have gave us enough time to do this. But now my back's against the wall, and I got to get it done, but I have to have approval just like everybody else does. I have not been directed from any one of the town board members to pick a certain company and have that audit completed. That has not happened yet. So I guess some discussion with those members should be had. I can only run the place. And without money, I can't even do that. But safety of children, as I've included in your packets, is paramount. I mean, we're still teaching schools every day without hesitation, working with every bit of the funds we have.
Questions?
I don't have any questions at this time. Anybody else on the board have questions?
Just would like to know how we should proceed on this, if we can get some direction on that.
All right.
I think we ought to reach out to our board members and make sure they attend the next meeting. And I think that Bill should get in touch with Sherville and Dyer and make sure that there's a quorum at the next meeting so this issue can be settled. It's a small operation. They should be able to audit it, whether it's 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years. They ought to be able to blow through it in a heartbeat.
Right.
So there
Absolutely.
should be no extended audit. So it won't take much.
Absolutely. In fact, Brian, if you remember back a few years, we went all over the books thoroughly. And
Well, I
you
went
were-
over them in a quick manner, but
Yes,
nonetheless, I was comfortable with what I saw, but.
But
you
that's
know,
not an audit.
You need a formal audit, then
Agreed.
let's get it done, okay?
Absolutely.
So that we're done horsing around with this.
Yeah, all they need to do is give me direction and I'll get it
No,
ramrodded
that's fine.
through.
Let's just make sure our members show up and the other members show up as well.
All right.
I think that'll settle it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks,
Thank
Bill.
Thank you. Gentlemen, good evening.
Thank you, sir. Anything else on your miscellaneous list?
Oh, yeah, a couple more things. So, with respect to the software, we're going to have some additional ARPA funding requests on there as well. We've got some upfitting for graphics for 3 squads, and it's like $1,590. And then some additional outfitting for window tinting and starters or remote starters for some of the police squad vehicles. That'll be about $1,100. So we'll have those in addition to the software appropriation on the resolution. So we're just going to do one, but it's going to have all 3 items on there. So that's that.
Well, one thing, if it takes another study session, I would like to have Sergio here explaining the benefits that he's gonna have from his department on this software.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
And I don't think it's,
ROI, you know, it's a lot of money, right? So.
it's not a project that I'm against, but I think he should have been here this evening.
I would agree with that. We have a conflict of interest we're going to take action on for a specific individual. I don't know if that was included in your packets, but I do have it here tonight if you want to take a look at it. I just don't want to say their name publicly until it's disclosed on the agenda. So that'll be on the agenda. The last item is just a reminder. We did defer action on the use variance for the BZA for 9495 Kyleman. This, if you remember, they had a favorable recommendation for the use of medical office use on that specific property. So that'll be on the agenda for the council next week as well. And that is all I have this evening.
Thanks, Joe.
Anything from the rest of the council? Anything, Kate? All right, motion to adjourn?
So move.
This meeting